Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBCrochet.com, and today I'm going to actually be knitting, and I'm going to show you how to knit a simple dishcloth, which actually comes out quite beautifully. This is definitely not my original project, my original design at all. This is an age-old project, and it's an excellent project for a beginner knitter. Now, if you are a beginner crocheter and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be too hard for me to do, I want to try to ease your fears right away and explain a few things first. Okay, first of all, we're going to be using some circular knitting needles. Now, some circular knitting needles look like this, and they're all fixed. They can't, be changed out in any way, shape, or form. And I'll tell you one reason why I've gone to these kind of needles is because it is approximately the same shape and size as my crochet hook. And because of that, it fits very well in my hand, a lot more so than the long pokey needles. And if you want to use the long needles, that's perfectly fine. That will also work for this simple project. But let me show you the other set that I'm really going to be using. These are not fixed needles. These are a pair of needles that are adjustable. I can change out the size anytime I want. And I also have different lengths of the wire. So you just screw them on just like that. And the wire portion that you attach it to are made of different lengths. And if I needed a longer one for a larger project, I can just simply put a larger wire on, just screw it on very tightly so that the stitches don't fall off, so the needles don't fall off. And again, let me show you compared to the crochet hook. Very similar in size, a very nice feel. And personally, I have been really getting along very well with knitting needles that are wood or bamboo. They seem to be serving me a lot more than the metal ever have. But again, if you have metal and you want to try that, that's fine. For this project, I thought I'd shake things up a little bit and use a variegated color. It's going to come out the same way as this, just a little more colorful. And again, this is a worsted weight yarn. You're only going to use about half of this amount of yarn. And let's see, I think that's all I need to show you, except you do need to have a yarn needle and a pair of scissors once we get to the end of this project. Okay, let's go ahead and I will show you how to cast on. Just to be clear, I want you to know that this is a size 7 knitting needles or 4.5 millimeters. Now as we begin to cast on, let's go ahead and leave yourself about, let's say about 8 to 9 inches. And then we're going to make a simple slip knot. We're just twisting the yarn like so. And then the yarn supply, come up through that hole for your slip knot. Okay, let me do that one more time for those of you who may be doing this for the very first time. Go ahead and twist the yarn like this. Again, making sure that you have about 8 or 9 inches here. And then pull up your yarn supply through that hole. And then give the tail a tug. Okay, now we're going to slip this onto one of the knitting needles. Doesn't really matter which one. And then I want you to hold the knitting needles, or the needle here, in your dominant hand. If you're right-handed, hold it in your right hand. If you're left-handed, hold it in your left hand. Now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take the yarn, and notice that I have one around the outside of my thumb and one around my finger, like this. Okay, I'm going to go very slow. So once you get this yarn, configured, let me go ahead and get this lined up for you again. You can kind of put it over your finger like you would in your normal yarn hold, okay, that you would use for crochet, and then put this on the outside of your thumb, just like this. Now we're going to cast on 3 additional stitches since we've already got one on with the slip knot. Okay, now we're going to take the needle and go up under the thumb like this, and then over like that, and then give it a tug. So that's one additional stitch cast on. We're going to do that 2 more times. Come up under, and then pick up that yarn over like this. And then we're going to do one more time. This is actually called a double tail cast on. come up under, and then over. And I promise this is probably the most complicated part of this whole process. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to put this needle into our non-dominant hand. For me, that's my left hand, and we're going to put the yarn in the hand just the way you would hold it for a crochet project. And this is my preferred way to hold the yarn. Just have the yarn up over this finger, and then the yarn comes down through the hand like this, and then the pinky acts as your brake man to kind of hold the yarn and helps to control the tension. Now in crochet, these two fingers, the tall man and the thumb, generally hold the fabric that you're crocheting. Well, the difference, using the continental method, that's what this is called, instead of holding the fabric, you're just going to hold the needle. So it's very, very similar. Okay, now with the right hand, or the dominant hand, for those of you who are right-handed, if you're left-handed, it would be your left hand. We're going to do knitting. That's all we're going to do, is we're going to do the knit stitch. And to do this, we stick the needle up under the stitch like this. Now we put the yarn forward on the needle, and then we pull the yarn through like this, and then take it off the needle. That's one stitch. We're going to do 4 times. We're going to knit all of these stitches off. The needle goes up under, forward, wrap, pull up the loop, and then slip it off. And do that again. I just want to make sure you're seeing where I'm putting this. Put the hook, listen to me. The needle, wrap forward, and then pull up that loop, and then slide it off the needle. I'm so guilty half the time of calling hooks needles and now needles hooks, but you understand what I'm saying. And then the last one, I'm going to stick it in just the same way we did. This is called the knit stitch. Stick it in there, wrap it forward, pull up a loop, and then pull it off. So we've knit 1 row. That's the first row, is to knit 4. And now the next row, we're going to do the same thing. So to start this pattern, the first 2 rows are you simply knit 4 stitches. So I'll go ahead and do the next row with you. Okay, we're going to stick the needle, I'm about to say hook again, needle in there, wrap it forward, pull up a loop, and slide it off. Put your needle in there, wrap it forward, pull up a loop, and slide it off. I will say, working with cotton, it's a little stiffer than wool. If you've ever worked with wool with knitting, it's much easier, but this is a fun, inexpensive project to start with, so you're not investing right away in expensive fiber. Wrap it forward, pull up the loop, slide it off, needle in, wrap it, pull up a loop, and slide it off. So we've done 2 rows now of the knit stitch. Actually, this whole thing is going to be is generally referred to as stockinette, which means you knit each row. After completing those 2 rows of just 4 knit stitches across, we're ready to begin the rows that have the increases in them, and you're not going to believe how easy it is to increase. First, we're going to do 2 knit stitches. Again, the same thing we've been doing. Stick the needle right back here, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and slide off the hook. Stick the needle in, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and now we've got 2 knit stitches. At the beginning of each row, you're going to knit 2, and then you're going to do an increase. And this is how you do an increase. You take your yarn and just simply wrap it over the right hook, and that is it. Now we're going to go and do 2 more knit stitches. Stick it in, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and slide off. Stick it in, wrap forward, pull up a loop, take it off. So now, after the 3rd row, you should have 5 loops. 1, 2, and that simple wrap we did, which is an increase. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So now, each row, you're going to increase by 1 stitch. And this is how this project gets knitted on the diagonal. So remember what I said before? Knit 2, 1. Now I'm doing this really slowly, but sometimes I have to go really slowly because sometimes this cotton will split on me, and you know, I just have to be real careful. So I've knit 2, and that's where we increase. We wrap this forward. You're not wrapping it like this, okay? I'm just showing you just a simple wrap like this, and now we're ready to do the next stitch, which is going to seem kind of weird because there's this big area here, but just go ahead and knit it normally. Wrap forward, pull up a loop, and that's where that extra little space or holiness is going to be on the edge of our project. And then we just knit the rest all the way across. Okay, so now we have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're just going to keep doing this. I promise you I'm not going to do every single row because that would be a great video to cure insomnia, I think. So now I'm going to do this just a couple more times so that you get the hang of it. We're going to knit the first 2, stick that needle in, pull up a loop, slide it off, and 1 more. Stick it in, wrap forward. Well, you know, do you see that where that little yarn is split there? I don't like that, so I'm going to do that again. Stick it in, wrap forward, and there. I got all the fibers. Okay, so now I've knitted 2. Time to wrap the hook. So I wrap the hook. Now I'm going to knit the rest of the way across. So we have 4 of these to knit off. Also, I hope you've noticed that when using the continental method, there's a lot less motion of the hands. I really think it's probably better on the hands, and I'm really thankful for that. Now I'm going to turn. Now I'm going to do this one more time, and I'm going to try to talk through it a little bit more. You should be able to see some of these, some of the holes starting to come. So we're going to knit. Notice that I come in from the back again, wrap. We're going to knit 2, just like we're going to do every row. Whoops, there, that yarn got split, so I'm going to try that again. Okay, that looks good. So I've knit 2. This is where you wrap the hook. I'm sorry, the needle. Wrap the needle. You can tell I'm a die-hard crocheter. And then come back and knit the rest. Just stick the hook, the needle in, wrap it forward, pull up a loop, and slide off. And if for any reason you don't like the way it's knitting up, if you split the yarn like I did, just gently pull back out and try it again. Okay, so let's stop and see where we are now. So now we have 8 stitches, and this is where we are. And there's interesting colors too coming out with this variegated yarn. So I'm going to do this again. Needle in, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and slide off. This is usually the trickiest one. Usually the second stitch is the one that gives me trouble with the splitty yarn. Okay, there we go. You got that second one done. Now it's time to wrap the hook, the needle. Wrap the needle. Sorry, guys. And then go ahead and continue with the knit stitch. Stick it in, wrap forward, pull up a loop, and slide off. I do have a tendency to go too fast with my crochet hook, but I don't think anyone's going to accuse me of going too fast. I hope not with my knitting, because I'm definitely not as fast of a knitter as I am a crocheter. Okay, and then you got that last stitch. And so that's what we have so far. So I'm going to continue to do this until keep doing this, just increasing after, 2 stitches. Do they increase with the wrap, and then knit all the way across until you have a total of 47 loops on your needle. And then we're going to do something to make the shape go back down again. But that's pretty much what you need to do. So go now. I have 20 loops on my needle. I wanted to show you how this is turning out, and that one stitch when it's added and it feels a little loose when you knit it, you can see that it's creating this nice little hole effect along the edge. So it's really, you're making the edging and the body of the dishcloth as you go, which is really kind of cool. It looks, I hope you can agree with me, it looks a lot more complicated than it really is. Like a lot of these knit and crochet projects are. They oftentimes look so difficult, but when you demystify it by taking it one stitch at a time, it's really not that bad. Now, if you're using these needles like I am, I want you to be really careful of something. Sometimes these can actually come undone and you don't know it, and then before long it comes disconnected. Just make sure every few rows that you just make sure that you're still connected. Okay, do that with both of them. Just make sure that you're connected. I don't usually have trouble with this, but just wanted to give you that extra tidbit. One other tidbit I wanted to give you before I send you off to work this until you have 47 loops is always make sure you keep the yarn behind the needles. So as you go across, I'll do this one more with you. Keep the yarn behind you. Later on in other future projects, I will show you how to purl, and when you do that, you actually bring the yarn in front. But right now, we're just keeping that yarn back behind our needles the entire time. Okay, so I just added that stitch, and then I'm just going to knit all the way across. So go ahead, and I hope you enjoy this project. Go ahead and do this until you have 47 loops on your knitting needle, and then I will show you how to decrease and continue the project along its way. Okay, now I have 47 loops on my needles, and this is what you should have, something that looks like this. Okay, now we're ready to begin our decrease rows, and we're going to work these until we have only 4 stitches or 4 loops left. Let me go ahead and show you how to do that. Okay. What we're going to do is we are going to knit 1 stitch off. Now we're going to knit 2 together, and this will be a decrease. So we take 1, 2 stitches, and this is going to be a little tricky. So take your time to make sure that you get under all of those strands. Okay, so we have 2 stitches. We wrap the yarn forward. Whoops. Just wanted to show you this is a little bit tricky. Wrap the yarn forward, and then we bring it through those 2 loops like this and take them off. So we've just made a decrease. Now we're going to wrap for an increase, and then we're going to do another decrease where you take 2 more stitches together, wrap forward, and bring it through those 2 loops. Okay, this is a little tricky with the cotton, but that's pretty much what we're going to do at the beginning of each row, and then we're going to just knit the rest of these off. Okay, so go ahead and just knit, knit, knit all the way across for the rest of this row. Now I'm going to do the next row, which is the same as the row that I just worked. This is the decrease row. We're going to knit the first stitch, and then we're going to knit 2 together by putting our needle right there and get 2 of those loops. It's under 2 loops. Pull up a loop and pull those 2 off. Now we're going to do an increase by wrapping the needle, and then we're going to do another decrease by putting our needle under 2 more of those stitches at the same time and pull up a loop just like that. So just remember, knit the first, then you knit 2 stitches together, and then wrap the needle for an increase, and then knit 2 more together. And by doing so, you're going to be making this constant, this little space in between the border, and it's going to be lovely when we finish. Now all we do is knit the rest of these stitches off. So go ahead and do that until you have, like I said, 4 stitches or 4 loops remaining on your needles. I'll show you as I get a little bit further down, before I get to the final point. I will show you after several rows what you should be getting. So it's important that you know the results that you're supposed to be getting, right? So that we know we're on the right track. I have a little more progress to show you. I just wanted to show you that as you do the decreases, I just wanted to show you what it should look like on the edges on both sides. I think it's kind of cool that you're just decreasing on one edge, but yet it shows up on both edges as we do it each row from side to side. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and keep on doing this until you have only 4 loops here, and then I will show you how to finish this off. Okay, I now have only 4 loops left. I'll go ahead and show you what I have. And so this is what we do after you have only 1, 2, 3, 4 loops left. We're going to knit the first one off. We're going to knit the next 2 loops together. And then knit the last one. Okay, so now we have 3 loops. And go ahead and turn. And so now we knit 1. And then knit the last 2 together. Wrap forward. Okay, and now we have only 2 left, and this is where we finish this off. We're going to take this loop and we're going to pass it over the last loop like this, and this should be the loop that's connected to the thread. Now we're ready to just finish off, and we do this by cutting a nice long thread. I would recommend at least 5 inches. If you want to do more, that's fine. And then we just pull this through. Give it a little tug. Now we have something really, really important to do. We need to hide the 2 loose strands. And this can be done a number of different ways, and if you don't like the way that I'm showing you, I encourage you to check out YouTube. There are many people who have put some excellent tutorials on various ways to hide the loose threads. Now obviously this is a reversible product, so we're going to have to be kind of careful. We can't just hide it on the back side. As we hide this loose thread, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it down here and then bring it back up, and then I'm going to bring it down here, and then I'm actually bring it back up again, and I think that's pretty good. I've given it a little tug. Make sure you pull on it a little bit so that it's not pulled tight, and I'm just going to fasten it off, and I think that's going to do. Now we're going to do the other side as well. This is the one thing that's a little more challenging, I think, with knit as opposed to crochet, because crochet usually has a lot more places, or at least I find a lot more places to hide this, where with the knitting, we have to kind of make it fit in to what we're doing. So let's go ahead and bring this one down here, and I want to go ahead and take that down a little bit further. And then I'm going to bring it back up, and then I'm actually going to bring it down again. And I'm pretty happy with that, so it's not going to pull out. So let's go ahead and give it a trim. Okay, and we are done with our knitted dishcloth. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, hit that little bell for me. That would be really great. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new projects that I have coming your way. I primarily do crochet projects, but I am going to be doing very easy beginning knit projects because I'm just really enjoying this craft as well. So anyway, God bless you all. Bye-bye.